Here a while back, I posted to YouTube 69 videos I'd made during my lifetime. I knew they'd be viewed by family members and a few close friends, but then I figured they would languish in obscurity. Boy, I was wrong. I just didn't think there'd be very many people out there who'd be interested in my portfolio. It's hardly hot social media material. But with my site now approaching 200,000 views and well over 500 subscribers, I'm glad to say that I was wrong. There are a lot of you folks out there who are interested. Thank you. I'm very pleased and humbled. One of my documentaries, Billy the Kid's Death, that I filmed in 1997, has been viewed the most by far. It's also generated the majority of viewer comments, many who've told me that they'd like to see my entire interview of Chano Silva, not just the few clips of him in that documentary. Okay, you guys asked for it, so here it is, over an hour's worth, but first a few facts about Chano. Chano Silva was born on December the 20th, 1918, and died on May 26, 2004. His grandfather, Jesus Silva, was an acknowledged expert on the death of Billy the Kid back in 1881. Jesus knew Billy the Kid well and was one of the few people present the night the kid was killed, and again whenever he was buried the next day. Chano grew up listening to Jesus relate what he had witnessed during those two events, many times translating his grandfather's Spanish into English. This gave grandson Chano a rare and detailed knowledge of Billy's death. You'll hear what Chano has to say about Billy the Kid during this interview, of course, but you'll also hear him talk about other very interesting things, like when he was a combat Marine during World War II. Chano was wounded twice in the Pacific, once during the battle on Bougainville and again on Okinawa. He also tells some wonderful stories about close friends both in and out of the Corps. Furthermore, I believe most of you will agree that, right or wrong, Chano Silva did possess important information about Billy the Kid that should be preserved. I'm honored to be able to do that. I'm Duane Whitlow, and this is Chano Silva.
Okay. All right. First of all, I would like to, express my appreciation, for you taking the time to do this interview. I know you're busy, and especially this weekend. From what I know about your life, seems like you've had a full one. Are you 79 or are you 80 right now?
I'm 78.
78, okay. And born in 1918, is that correct? And
December 20th.
I'm sorry?
December the 20th.
December the 20th. And I know that you're the son of Jesus Silva Jr.
Yes.
And that his father was Jesus Sr.
That's right.
Who was a pallbearer at Billy the Kid's funeral.
That's correct.
And of course we want to get into that in detail in a minute, but I also know that you were a Marine in World War II, and that you were on Bougainville, is that correct?
Yeah.
And wounded there, and then wounded again on Okinawa.
In Okinawa.
And among other things, you've been a Justice of the Peace here in Tobacco County, and are also being honored this weekend as the Grand Marshal of the Old Forts Day celebration.
Be my third time.
Be the third time. First of all, tell me about your grandfather. When did he come here, and what did
His father, my great grandfather, came to New Mexico in I don't know what year,
Yeah.
but he came from Portugal.
From Portugal?
Yeah.
Okay.
He married my grandmother there in Las Vegas. She was a modest, and they had 2 boys. My granddaddy, and then another one, Vicente Silva. He was an outlaw.
He was an outlaw?
Yeah.
What did he do to become an outlaw?
He controlled what is San Miguel County now. Stole, had a gang, stealing cattle and horses and whatever, and stealing the grain from the farmers. And he was something else.
What years was that approximately?
I've got 4 stories on him at home. I forget what year it was. Yeah, he was. They were both leaders. He and my grandfather. But my grandfather was a leader for the good of the country. And the other clown, he was a leader and no good rat.
They came from the same family.
They came from the same family.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
he even killed his own wife.
He did?
Yeah.
Whoa, he was mean.
Oh, yeah. He said there's a bridge between what is Old Town and New Town in Las Vegas, and that's where he'd hang people.
Good gracious.
All the business there was in Old Town was owned by him. Had a bar and dance hall, prostitutes, gambling.
And his name again was what?
Vicente Silva.
I'll be darned. Huh. Did he die in prison or anything?
Hell no. His right-hand man killed him.
Oh.
I knew him. I knew Jose Chavez, and Chavez was his name. He was the only one out of the whole works that ever went to the penitentiary. And he went for killing my uncle. And he killed him because he killed his wife right in front of Jose Chavez and Chavez.
Boy, that was a mean bunch up there.
Oh, yeah. That's the reason my grandfather left Las Vegas. Vicente had asked him to join the gang, and Granddaddy, he said, I didn't tell Vicente that I wouldn't. He said, but I figured that I'd better leave, because if I didn't, if he didn't kill me, he'd have me killed. He said, and I knew that, and I left. And he wound up at Cimarron
Okay.
as foreman for Lisa Maxwell, Pete Maxwell's daddy. And then, when the old man sold his land grant there, he told him, he said, Sue, said, if you want to continue working for us, said, you can go to Bosque Redondo and work for my son, Pete.
Bosque Redondo is, of course, right outside of Fort Sumner here.
Right there where the museum is now. Where
Now, there were some Indians incarcerated there.
yeah, that was the stockade there. The army had them penned up there.
Right. And Pete, or Lucian, is that his name, Maxwell?
Yeah.
Did he sell cattle to the army, or
Pete did, not Lucia.
Oh, Pete did, okay.
Yeah, Lucia came from Cimarron.
Yeah,
That was Pete's daddy.
yeah. Now, your grandfather worked as a foreman for
Yeah,
Pete?
for Pete's land grant. And Pete's daddy told him, he said, Seuss, if any of these workers here, he said, wants to go with you, he said, they can. And 5 families out of the bunch came with him.
Wow.
Some of the relatives is here.
Well, he would have had to have been very popular then as a foreman.
He was. He was, like I said, he was a leader. He helped people out, and all the workers, the laborers that worked for Pete, they got $40 a month. My granddaddy got 50. And Pete had the only grocery store and dry goods store and drug store, And if they needed any money before payday, they'd go to Pete and ask him for, and Pete would let them, all he'd let them have was half of their salary, $20, and charge them 20%.
20%.
So they wound up only getting $36.
That's right.
And Granddaddy told me that he and this, and the way, how come Fort Sumner to be called Fort Sumner is that the officer in charge of this army that was guarding the Indians was named Summers.
I see.
And then when they done away, turned the Indians away, let them go home, they named this little community here then was called Sunnyside.
Okay.
And then they changed it from Sunnyside to Fort Sumner.
I see.
Fort for the old fort and Sumner for this clown that was in charge.
So when Billy the Kid was here in 1881, was it called Sunnyside then, or was it Fort Sumner?
No, Bosque Redondo.
Okay, it was called Bosque Redondo.
Yeah, this was Sunnyside, what this town is, what it's town now.
I see. So, in 1881, your grandfather was the foreman for Pete Maxwell.
Yeah.
And Pete Maxwell's bedroom, of course, is where Billy the Kid died.
No,
Is that not right?
No, that's a completely someone other people's imagination.
Why don't you...
He was killed in the front porch of Pete Maxwell's house.
The front porch?
Yeah.
Okay.
When he had broke out of the Lincoln jail, and he finally made his way back to the Bosque Redondo, and he was staying with my grandfather. And he and Granddaddy had talked him into going to Mexico. He said, Billy, he said, Pat knows you. He and Billy and Pat were friends when Pat first came here.
Right.
He says he knows you, he knows your habits, he knows your ways, and he's going to set a trap for you. Pat isn't going to try to shoot you, gun you just like these other outlaws has. He said he's not that crazy. He said, but he'll set a trap for you and he'll kill you. And finally, Billy decided he'd take my granddaddy's advice. And a week before this happened, Pat put out a story that he had gotten a telegram that there was bank robbers out loose west. And they ordered him to go look for him, arrest him. And he and his deputies took off. That was a setup right there.
Okay.
Pat came back probably that night, and he hid in Pete Maxwell's house. He knew that Billy would go there because he was going with this Indian gal that Pete Maxwell raised as a slave.
He was going with her.
Billy was, yeah.
Now her name again was De La Vina, right?
I knew her real well when she's already old and had arthritis awful bad. And Pete Maxwell knew what was going on, but he wouldn't dare tell Granddaddy or Billy either. But he covered up for the deal. Because the house, Pete, I can remember the house, this two-story building that Pete Maxwell lived in. before the river washed it away.
Right.
And it had a hallway. It was a two-story and had a hallway as you run the porch and out the back. And it had cots along this wall.
For the cowboys or? Yeah, sure.
And that's when Pat was under one of these cots waiting for Billy.
Pat was under one of those cots?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
And Billy decided, his old granddaddy, his granddaddy told him, he said, Billy said, I'll give you another horse and food enough for you to get to Juarez. And Billy finally agreed to leave. That night, he went over there and knocked on the screen door. And it was a bright moonlight night. And Pat knew damn well it was Billy. And he shot him with a sawed-off shotgun.
With a sawed-off shotgun?
Yep. Daddy heard the shot. Granddaddy did. And then he heard someone hollering, Sluice, Sluice. And it was Pat. Daddy walked out and said, what's the matter, Pat? He said, I just shot Billy. Will you go see if he's dead? Granddaddy said, you SOB. You shot him, you go.
Yeah.
Pat said, he may not be dead and he'll kill me. And Daddy said, I don't know what he's going to kill you with. He said, this pistol and rifle are in the kitchen at home. And Daddy's granddaddy's house wasn't over 8,000 feet, 800, 1,000 feet from Pete Maxwell's house.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was dead. That granddaddy said he walked up and he hollered. Daddy never did call him Billy the Kid or Billy. He called him Billito.
Billito, yeah.
And he called him Billito, no answer. He walked up to the porch, turned him over, and he was dead. Then Mr. Paco Anaya, the one that kept a diary of Billy, he and Billy were the same age.
Yeah.
And he kept a diary of Billy. He stayed at the ranch. Mr. Anaya had moved to Vaughan, west of Vaughan there on the ranch. And Billy stayed there for a while before he came to the Bosco Redondo.
Yeah. After the incident in Lincoln.
Yeah, after he escaped from the Lincoln jail. And but Mr. Anaya kept a diary of Billy, and I knew it. He was a lawyer. He became a lawyer, Mr. Anaya did, Paco. And then Billy stayed there for a while. And then, and Paco happened to be in Fort Sumner, or the Bosco Redondo, the night that Billy got shot. And he was the first, besides my grandfather, he was the next man there at the porch. And my great uncle, his name was Alejandro Segura.
Okay.
He was the justice of the peace of this territory, and he is the one that I've got the inquest, that held the inquest on Billy.
I know they found a copy of that up in Santa Fe here a while back.
I've got it. It's written in Spanish.
Yeah.
And the names of the pallbearers.
Was your grandfather also on the Court of Inquiry?
Yeah.
I thought he was too, yeah. And that was conducted at the Maxwell place, right?
Yeah, right there at the porch.
Yeah. I think it was law back in those days that you had to convene the Court of Inquest right there at the body.
Yeah, at the scene.
Yeah. So.
And it so happened that my great uncle happened to be around the community when that happened, when he hardly ever was. they'd have to wait 4 or 5 days for him to show up. But he happened to be there too.
So there were quite a number of people who knew Billy very well that saw his body there.
Sure.
Of course.
And it was only the Mexican people that came to see about him.
Right.
Because the Anglos, Billy he had no use for an Anglo. Because they were the ones that started him the road that he took. Which, when he went to work for Pete Maxwell, my granddaddy said the first thing he done was bought him a pistol with his first payday. And he'd go around practicing fast draw.
Oh, really?
And then the next payday, he bought him some shells. And he'd set up bottles or cans and fast draw and shoot. Finally, Granddaddy asked him, he said, Bilito, why are you doing this? He said, well, on our way west, on our way west, he said, 3 outlaws raided our wagon and killed my daddy and raped my mother. He said, and when I think I'm good enough, he said, I'm going to go look for him. 2 years later, he left. Gone 2 years and came back. Back to the Bosque Redondo. Granddaddy asked him, he said, are you satisfied now, Billy? He said, yeah.
So he found them, obviously.
Found 2 of them. Found them somewhere in Oklahoma. He said, yeah. I said, I found 2 of them. Said, somebody beat me to the other one. And that's where he got the reputation of being a gunman. And the rest of the gunners, they'd come around or wherever Billy was at and try to outdraw him. And that's how come him to kill as many as he did in self-defense. The only ones that he didn't kill on self-defense was the sheriff and the damn deputy in Lincoln for killing his friend Tunstall.
For killing who?
Tunstall?
Oh, Tunstall, yeah. John Tunstall, sure.
Yeah, he was the only Anglo friend he had.
Yeah, he sure was.
And as soon as he heard what happened to his friend, he went over there and killed the sheriff.
He was convicted of that murder of Brady, Sheriff Brady, and was sentenced to hang in Lincoln in May, but then he shot himself out of jail and came up here.
Well, he didn't. He wrote Governor Wallace, Lew Wallace, territorial governor, and the Lincoln War broke out. The damn old war was nothing but over the cowman and the sheepman. That's all that was.
That's true.
Anyway, he wrote him a letter and asked him. He said he'd fight in the Lincoln War, and if he survived it, could he have his freedom? Wallace answered his letter and told him yes. Said Colonel Knight was the head of the Cattle Association, and he came to Lincoln and got him out of jail, took him. He fought in the war, and the very same day the war was over, Colonel Knight himself disarmed him and brought him back to Lincoln to be hung. And Billy, instead of coming to the Bosque Redondo, he should have gone to Santa Fe and killed Governor Wallace, as far as I'm concerned.
It seems that way.
He's the one that double-crossed him. And Colonel Knight helped.
I had never heard that story. That's interesting. It sure is.
We found the letter that Billy wrote Governor Wallace, and we also found the answer that Wallace wrote Billy during the time that Lincoln County filed suit against Baca County, wanted to move his remains.
Now that's where, when you found those documents?
In the archives in Santa Fe.
Yeah. Where are they at now, in Santa Fe?
I imagine.
Yeah.
And I and another man by the name of Carlos Clancy, his father was a school teacher, had a ranch out here north of here, and then taught school in Anton Chico, west. And he raised nothing but Shetland ponies. He came from Spain. I rode one of those things. Every time he'd take a notion, he'd buck me off and I'd have to walk home. But anyway, Carlos, he thought the world of Billy too. And he was going with a lady that was, her name was Adelina Beauvien. She was a school teacher. And I knew her real well also. And he'd come from the ranch every Saturday night to dance at dances at the Bosque Redondo, and then to be with Adelina. So when I told the district attorney, the assistant district attorney here, I said, John, I said, you get a hold of Carlos Clancy. I said, he can help us in this case. I said, and when he testifies, I said, after he gets through, you ask him why he came to the Bosque Redondo every Saturday, which I knew why, but I wanted Carlos to tell the court.
Right.
And he testified in behalf of Tobacco County. And John asked him when he got through, he said, Mr. Clancy, he said, what was your purpose of riding all the way to the ranch every Saturday night to dance, other than dancing? He said, because I used to go with a lady here. He said, and I've seen that cemetery underwater twice in my lifetime, he said.
That's the cemetery where Billy's buried?
And the Army had only it was an Army cemetery. And a few civilians were buried there, but later they took it all in for when they moved all the soldiers supposedly to Santa Fe.
I noticed that Lucian Maxwell and Pete Maxwell are buried there.
Yeah, but so was my grandfather and grandmother on the Smith side, but I don't know where. No, they never did take care of that. Sandstone or cross, whatever they made for them.
Yeah, right. So that night that Billy, how long was it after Billy died that he was buried? Was
The next day.
The next day?
Yeah.
Okay.
They held a quake that same night. After they had to borrow a shirt from Pete Maxwell to get him dressed. And they had to pin it in the back, make it look good, because he was
small.
A lot bigger than, he was a lot smaller than Pete.
Well, how tall do you figure Billy the Kid was?
He was only about 5'4".
About 5'4", yeah. So he was pretty skinny, too.
Yeah, and he looked more like a girl than he did a boy.
I've heard that before.
Sure, Granddaddy said he blonde-headed, blue-eyed, light complexion.
Yeah.
Little tiny hands.
Yeah.
And the Mexicans, the sheep herders or whatever, would know about the feds coming to look for Billy. They'd get word, Billy said, there's so-and-so coming.
He was very popular here, wasn't he?
Well, he was with the Mexican people because he would kill a beef or a deer or an antelope and take it to those people that didn't have anything to eat.
No wonder he was popular.
And then they'd protect him, help him, and if they needed to hide him, all they'd have to do is go to the Mexican house and they'd hide him.
I guess there was a sheriff here at the time.
Well, Pat.
No, Pat was this Lincoln County also?
No, we belonged to Roosevelt County.
Okay.
And then later, Guadalupe County.
Okay, all right.
And then, when my daddy, well, the man that raised me, Frank,
Yeah.
became a city councilman, he suggested, and we had a governor by the name of C. DeBaca. Actually, it was Cabeza C. DeBaca, but he always went by C. DeBaca. And my daddy, or my uncle, suggested to have a county of our own.
Right. You know, New Mexico had awfully big counties back in those days.
That's right.
Awfully big. Yeah.
And so the other councilman and the mayor agreed. And the mayor could speak Mexican also. He raised between here and Santa Rosa and Puerto Luna. Thinking about that one, they had a big sofa there in the showroom of the Ford Agency that the mayor owned, the Ford Agency. The boy, one still living. We called him Flea, but his name is Floyd. And there were a bunch of these damn ranchers and farmers were sitting in this couch. That was every morning doing, talking. There was two suitcases at the foot of this couch. And just then a Texas license car drove up with three fellas in it. And the driver got out. He said, "John, you ready to go?" And he unlocked the trunk. And John said, "Flea, load those suitcases up." Just then a Mexican fella walked up and asked John how much he'd take for a certain Model T car that was sitting out there.
Sure.
He went with him out, and pretty soon he came back and he told Tom Tudor, was his bookkeeper, one of his daughter works at this museum down at the fort now. Said, "Tom, I told this man he's going to take that car and going to give us $20 down and $20 a month." Write it down and give him the... Okay, he said, "I'll take care of it." And this fellow that had gotten out of the car, he said, "Damn," he said, "I wish I could talk Mexican like you can, John." He said, "I could sell a lot of cars in Texas." And he said, "How did you learn it?" John Wood said, "I slept with a Spanish dictionary." And he looked at me and he said, "Is that right, Chano?" I said, "Yep, it worked." I said, that's how I learned English. I slept with an English dictionary." He got in the car and they were going to Denver on a Ford meeting. That's where they were going.
That's funny. So, they had the funeral the next day.
Yeah.
And so your grandfather, of course, was a pallbearer, and there was probably, 4 or 5 others?
There were 6 pallbearers.
Pallbearers.
I knew 4 of them real well.
Yeah. Was there a priest that said some words over the body or anything?
Adelina did. Delavina did.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, hell, the priest had to come all the way from Santa Rosa.
Yeah,
that was the closest one.
Yeah. So she said a few words over the body. And, tell me, I'm curious. This is not a part of the story or anything, but I'm curious as to your how you were wounded on Bougainville and on Okinawa.
Well, I was wounded first here, ricochet from a sniper. He was either too far or the son of a bitch couldn't shoot as good as the rest of them. I don't know what.
So that's from a bullet or shrapnel?
No, a bullet.
Okay.
And then at Okinawa, I got hit in the right leg by a machine gun.
I'll bet that hurt.
It did after. You get cold chills at first, and then you get hot flashes, and then it starts hurting. But the first time, I guess you're just damn scared that it don't hurt, or if it does, you don't feel it.
Probably a little of both.
Yeah. But when I got this ricochet on my head, all I remember is that damn bullet went through the lining of the helmet. And it was made 2 or 3 circles between the helmet and the lining. And all I heard sounded like a bunch of bees humming. And when I came to, I was in the hospital in Melbourne, Australia, in a straitjacket.
My goodness.
I hollered at the nurse, and she ran in there and said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Get me out of this goddamn thing."
Why'd they have you in a straitjacket? That was for you to take the needles out of your arm?
Oh, they said I was out of my head.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, I got to call the doctor."
Well, with a head wound, that's very possible.
And this doctor came in. He asked me a bunch of goddamn silly questions, and I answered him. And he said, "Nurse," he said, "you can take the jacket off."
Yeah.
I said, "Doc, did you think I was crazy?" I said, "If you'd just asked me, I could have told you yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the goddamn Marine Corps." He was a Navy doctor, and he died laughing.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He said, "You're all right."
You're all right. Yeah, if you can...
So, hell, 6 months, 7 months later, here, another combat.
Right back into combat.
Yeah, we landed in Okinawa the first day of April, Easter Sunday, 45. And I got wounded on the 7th of May.
Then they sent you back to Guam, I think.
Yeah, they sent me to Guam and stayed there for, hell, I don't know how long. And one day they came by and they said, "We're going to send you to Seattle, Washington. Got to make room for some more wounded."
You probably didn't have any problem with that at all.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because they was going to fly us.
Oh.
And I goddamn sure don't like to fly. The reason I flew to Australia because I didn't know any better. I didn't know where the hell I was at. Anyway, but anyway, just as that happened, a bunch of ambulances drove up. One of the ships had gotten a suicide on it, a kamikaze, and had a bunch of burnt sailors. And I asked the head doctor there, I said, "Doc, those men don't have much of a chance here, do they?" He said, "No." I said, "Here's my papers." I said, "At least take one. He'll have a better chance of surviving in the United States than he does in this godforsaken country here." And then the rest of them heard me, and they gave their papers to him.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And then, and the doctor said, "Silva," he said, "you'll be 20, 25 days going by ship." I said, "I don't give a damn if it takes 25 years. I said, I want to do it." And the rest of them followed me, and they gave their papers, and they flew them out.
So they allowed that to happen?
Yeah.
I see. So...
And then it took us 22 days and nights to come from Guam to Seattle.
Yeah. But at least you made it safely, and no submarines torpedoed you or anything like that.
We got sunk one time. Well, we were between Guam and Bougainville. Yeah, it was no goddamn picnic out there in the middle of the ocean. Some of them dying, and some of them already dead, floating around. But anyway, But I'd rather fight that water than to get up in the air. I know that. I tell them, I said, I can damn sure swim, but I can't fly. All right? And then they kept me there for a while, and then they had to make room for the ones that were releasing from Guam, and they sent us to Corpus Christi.
You were getting closer to home all the time.
Yeah. in the roundabout way.
Yeah.
So they finally released me out of the hospital there, and my record books, the 1st Marine Division record books were lost. The only record they had of us from the day we landed in Guam. And they come to find out that they were in Tientsin, China. We'd been to Tientsin, and that's where they had left the records, or something happened. Hell, I don't know.
That's typical military.
Oh, yeah.
It sure is.
That's the reason we whipped them damn Japs, because we didn't know what the hell we were doing half the time either. So, anyway, they sent me to the Marine barracks. And I went over there, and there's nobody around, and I just picked me out of bunk and got in and was there a week, and finally one Sunday, damn Buck Sergeant walked in. He said, what's your duty around here? I said, sleep and eat. He said, don't you have any duties? I said, hell no, I told you. I said, sleep and eat. That's all I've done for a week. I said, I was in the hospital. I said, here's what the records they got of me from Guam to here. And he didn't look at them. He said, you follow me. We wound up at a damn Japanese stockade. Smandad bastards were playing baseball. Every once in a while, the ball would go over the fence or under the fence or out of play, and these other guards, they'd run out there and bring the ball like a goddamn bird dog. And finally, the ball went over on my side. I just kept walking. And this Jap, he said, bring ball, Marine. I kept walking. On the way back, he had his hands on this wire fence. He said, Milene, you son of a bitch, bring ball. And when he did, I hit him right square between the eyes with the butt of that damn one. Mm-hmm. Knocked him out quarter and wedge. And some of them ran to him, and some of them ran to the hut to tell them what happened. And little old Shavetail went out there, and he said, Dad said, what's your name? I told him. And rank, I told him. He said, did you hit that man? I said, I damn sure did. I said, and the only reason I didn't kill the son of a bitch, because you don't furnish me any ammunition. I said, no goddamn slime-eyed bastard going to call me a son of a bitch. He said, how long you been on duty? I said, about 2 hours at the most. He said, didn't the man that put you on duty knew that you'd been overseas? I said, he didn't ask me and I didn't tell him. I said, all I knew was that they weren't supposed to put a man that'd been in combat on duty, guarding prisoners. He said, could you identify the man that brought you here? I said, I sure can. And he brought 3 soldiers with him, and I told him, I said, this one here. And he asked him, he said, did you bring this man in here? He said, yeah. He said, did you ask him if he'd been in combat? And he said, no, sir. He said, well, he said, Silver, take your duty belt off and give it to the sergeant and give him the weapon. Yeah. He said, and you take this post until I get through with you. And then he said, where are you from? I said, New Mexico. He said, well, how come you to be, I told him, I said, they released me from the hospital here. And they told me they was going to send me to San Diego to get a discharge whenever my records got, all the first Marine records were in China. He looked at his watch, he said, you got 45 minutes to catch that train. He said, and I'll see that you get there. And he called, he went in the office and called in a little old corporal, and he said, get that Jeep ready and take Silva to the train depot.
Yeah.
He filled out papers and said, yeah, he said, you got any money? I said, yeah. I said, I got money. He said, if you haven't, said, I'll fix it so you can get an emergency pay.
He was very helpful.
Yeah.
He sure was.
Well, he done it because he knew this damn sergeant made an ass out of himself. That's why.
Yeah, he sure had.
And so I unfolded the papers, and he said, what's the matter, Silver? I said, I don't see where in this order you got here, I said that I'm going to get 10 days delayed. He said, why do you want 10 days? I said, this train is going by my hometown. And if you don't think I'll get off, I said, you're crazy now, Lieutenant. And he laughed, he said, okay, and he typed up another order, attached it on the one, and I got off the train, safe here, 8
Sure.
days, and
Yeah.
went on into San Diego.
Got discharged and came back.
And hell, it took me 60 days to get before our records book got caught up with it.
Well, this has been very interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to add, about Billy the Kid or anything? Anything?
No, all I have to say is that he wasn't the person that some of the books has him to be. He wasn't a cold-blooded murderer. He wasn't a cow thief. He worked for John Chisholm, him and his two buddies, gathering cattle once a year down the Pecos River, and John Chisholm would pay them $1 for every unbranded cow or a calf or bull that they'd take. And that's where they got the idea that he was stealing cattle and selling them to John Chisholm. Or working for John and stealing for John, which it wasn't none at all.
Well, everything that I have read about Billy the Kid leads me to the same conclusion, that he was good with a gun, but he was not a cold-blooded killer.
No, and he wouldn't go out looking for trouble.
No.
But if someone was looking for him, they'd damn sure get in trouble.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and Granddaddy'd say that, like I said a while ago, he'd look more like a girl. And as soon as these friends of his would notify him that the feds were coming, and he always let his hair grow anyway, and he'd go to the Hebreo girls and buy clothes from them and dress like a girl and wait on them at Pete Maxwell's house when they were eating there. And they were looking for Billy, and there they were, he was, feeding them right there, waiting on them, and
Is that right?
they thought it was a girl.
That's really...
But Granddaddy said one thing about it, he said he always had that damn pistol under his dress.
Always had the what?
The pistol?
Yeah, the pistol under his dress. That's funny.
And I knew 5 of those girls. There were 6 of them. The oldest one died before Pete's wife, she passed away before I got to know her. But the others, and they remembered loaning Billy clothes. And people used to come and talk to my granddaddy.
I'm sure they did.
And Granddaddy wouldn't talk to them because what English he learned it from cowboys, and 9 times out of 10 they'd tell him dirty words and cuss words. And Granddaddy was afraid that he might say the wrong thing.
Sure.
And he wouldn't talk to him if I was around. If I wasn't, he would, but if I was, hell no. He said my grandson will interpret for me. And they'd ask him if it was true that Billy had more Mexican friends than he did Anglos. He said he sure did.
Sure did, yeah.
And they said, what was the reason? Granddaddy would always have the same answer. Said, because us Mexicans thinks more of a friend than we do of money. That was Granddaddy's answer to that.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, any Mexican would help him out any way they could, and they'd do anything in the world for Billy, but he didn't trust an Anglo because they were all after him from one way or another. And Pat killed him for the $500 reward. That was, if that was the question. And Pete Maxwell went along with it. He was just as guilty as Pat was, as far as I'm concerned, because he didn't want him to take that Indian gal away from him.
Oh, so that was the reason.
That was the reason that Granddaddy said that Pete would make her wash his feet and cut his toenails, and Pete gave a damn horse for that girl. Baby, it was the day she was born. The Indians were getting ready to turn them loose.
Now, was she Hispanic?
Who, Delarina?
Uh-huh.
No, she was full-blooded Indian Apache.
Full-blood, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had heard stories that
No.
that she was Hispanic, but she's not. Okay.
And this Indian couple, the baby was born 2 or 3 days before they left, and they traded her for a horse so they could go back to Arizona or Gallup or wherever in the hell they brought them from. There was a set of twins. Granddaddy told me about this. That were born the night before they turned them loose. The parents carried them out of here. 100 years later, they had their celebration, Freedom Year, and they came from Arizona and Gallup and all in that Indian country in trucks. Brought their wagons and their tents and everything with them, and they unloaded them at the other side of the river. And they walked from the other side of the river to the Bosque de Redondo. And the same babies, twins that were carried out, they led those people back to where they were born.
I see.
100 years old.
Wow.
And they walked it. They were in the lead. They said Daddy and Mama was let us out of here, now we led them back in.
Yeah.
And then when they got ready to leave, they loaded up their wagons with horses. These 2 Indians, they walked in the lead and went back and loaded them on the trucks and took off.
That's interesting.
A lot of people always, mostly Indians, that's where their Indian grave was set. Of course, it's under an alfalfa field now.
Chano, you've had quite a life. You sure have.
Yeah, and I've been healthy all my life. That helped.
You bet.
Other than the twice I was wounded, that's the only serious sickness I ever had.
Yeah. Well.
And I've enjoyed every damn minute of it too.
I wish we could go another 100 years, don't you?
If it's not any worse than it's been, I wouldn't mind it, but I damn sure don't want to wind up in a nursing home and someone trying to take care of me or something. And whenever a person gets that way, he's better off dead. For his or her good and the family. The way I look at it.
Me too.
That's the way I don't know what they're going to do with this doctor that helps.
They haven't been able to get him yet.
No, but they're trying him again.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing him a favor.
He is.
I mean, I actually do.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him do that than some of these doctors that kills him for money. That the relatives pay him to do it.
Yeah. 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 And I'm sure that goes on.
Why, sure it goes on.
Yeah.
I see where DuPont got the hell find out of him and got a LA sentence. That millionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which whatever he got wasn't bad compared to it. Yeah, they find the hell out of him and gave him a shit pot full of years in the penitentiary.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of any more questions. You've answered them all. You sure have. You've done very well. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. We'll.
The only thing is that I'm glad you asked me to do this. I hope it'll help you out in whatever you do.
Well, this is all for fun.
Yeah.
I'm not a serious historian or anything like that. I want to do a good film. I would like for it to get some recognition. I certainly want you to have a copy, for your home and for the great people here in Fort Sumner who have helped me. That's just been wonderful. If it does anything on television, fine. If it doesn't, I could care less.
Ted Turner's crew videotaped me at the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And they never said, thank you, go to hell or nothing.
Oh, really?
No, I went on there. My wife asked me, she said, what'd they tell you? I said, not a goddamn thing. I said, I done all the talking.
Did you ever see it on TV?
Oh yeah, they sent me a video that I didn't know I was going to get. And then I got it right after, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after that, I got a letter from a fellow from somewhere in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to know, he'd seen the some show that Turner put on, or his staff. He said he'd read a lot about Billy the Kid, and he wanted to know more. And he said, it's the first time I ever heard or read about your granddaddy calling Pat Garrett S.O.B. He said, did he really do that? I said, sure he did. I said, granddaddy wouldn't lie about something like that.
No.
He had no reason for it.
No.
And he said, he done the same thing as this fella from the Bronx. He said, I'm going to send you a bunch of questions. He said, you answer them the best you can about Billy. And I did, and I shipped them back to him, and later I got a check.
A check?
Yeah, sent me $50.
Well, that's good.
And I didn't write him, I called him. I said, you didn't have to do this.
No.
He said, I know I didn't. He said, but you didn't have to tell me all that story either. He said, appreciate it. He said, I'm a history school teacher here in town there. He said, and they really have enjoyed your answers. And then they've got a tape, a cassette in that supposedly at Texas Tech in Lubbock. They got one at Oklahoma A&M too, supposed to have one.
A tape of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the way they got those, that some of those kids that went to college there, they were assigned to do that project. And,
Sure.
And then they came to me, and that's how come them with it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it needs to be documented. It needs to be documented. And so I'm very glad that you're willing to do it. And it certainly has been my pleasure. Sure has.
When they asked me about this scar, I said, this is one advantage of being a hard-headed Mexican. I said, why is that? I said, I was a damn hard-headed, not even a 25 caliber Jap bullet could do.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But it was, imagine he was too far, because those snipers hardly ever missed. And they'd always, if the helmet wasn't, yeah, either that or the back right here, this back of the ear.
Were you all on the patrol at that time or something?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's where the snipers would get you.
Oh, yeah.
Patrol.
Hell, he wouldn't know where in the hell it's up in them damn trees, coconut trees.
Yeah.
This Red West, he was in the Marine Corps. We went together. He wound up, and Bob Parson, they wound up at Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
Bob he got the worst end of the deal. He got his right eye out, and broken jaw, and broken shoulder. He was a machine gunner, damn knee mortar. Shot, hit right square in his foxhole and killed his assistant. But anyway, Red, a sniper, he was aiming at this back of his ear, and the bullet went through his ear. And I was kidding him after here when the men start wearing earrings. I asked him one day, I said, Red, when are you going to get your earring? He said, I ain't going to get me. I said, God damn it. I said, you got a free ear pierced by a Japanese. You ought to say that hole they gave you.
That's funny.
Well, there was 5 of us went together. And we all passed the physical.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way to San Diego, they were talking. 3 of us drank, the other 2 didn't. And a friend of mine gave us all a quart of whiskey apiece when he got on the train here. His name was Benny Good, rancher. So that was all right with us that did drink. We got to drink their whiskey on the way to San Diego.
Right.
They were talking one day on board train and said, what if they give us a choice? One of them said, what are we going to ask for? And one of them said Navy, and the other said Air Force, and whatever, and they asked me, said what? I said, I'm not going to ask them for a goddamn thing. I said, they're going to do what they want to with it, and no use asking. I said, hell, they just take that punishment and go on with it.
Yeah.
And then they bugged me again, asked me. I said, no, I'm going to. Decided to join the Marines if they give me a choice. Which I didn't mean it. I was just getting them off of my back, goddammit. So we got there, and next day we're in line, and I was in the lead. And this Marine captain was, and he said, oh, said I said, how would you fellas like to go in the Marine Corps? I said, yeah. I said, I do. I said, and the other 4 said they would too if I did. Here we go. Oh, about a month after that, Red was cussing me out.
I'm sure he was.
How it was my fault we was going through all that crap.
Uh-huh.
I said, Red, I said, you've known me all your life. I said, you know a dumb Mexican like me, I said, can misunderstand things too easily. He said, what do you mean misunderstood? I said, well, all the commotion going on, I heard something about Marine and Semper Fidelis. And I thought they'd said that if we joined the Marine Corps, we'd get to ride a submarine and they were paying $75. That stopped it. He never did bitch to me about it no more. He's a character anyway.
Oh, that's funny. Sure is.
And years later, I met him at the post office. One morning, he said, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, I sent some cattle yesterday to the sale at Clover. Said, I want to go over there and see how they do. You want to go? I said, sure. So I called the house and told my wife where I'd be. And we left. I left my pickup there at the post office. About 14 miles from here, he started fooling with his damn hearing aid. And it didn't work. I finally told him. He brought another one out, and I said, Red, pull over. Let me drive since you're going to mess with that damn crap. So he pulled, he did, and before we got to Clovis, he told me, he said, slow down. He said, I want you to turn left. I'll show you where. And we wound up at this hearing aids office. And we walk in, and this lady sitting there, and he said, Mr. West, he said, how are you? Red said, all right. He said, this is a friend of mine, told him. He said, where's your husband? He said, he's supposed to be in Fort Sumner. He said, I didn't see him. He said, what's the matter? She asked him. I said, this damn hearing aid that you sold me here about a month ago, I put a new battery in it this morning, and then this one that the government gave me went out on me, and I put on the one that I bought from you. He said, and the damn thing, I can't hear a word. So she said, let's see it. She took it apart, and he put the battery in upside down. He said, Mr. West, said, you put the battery in upside down. Well, he said, I can't help it. He said, when they gave me the first one at the hospital in Albuquerque, they told me that any time I had a conversation with a Mexican, to put it upside down because they talk backwards anyway. This lady looked at me and I just grinned. Before we left, she said, Mr. Silva, I said, how long have you known this? I said, too damn long. I said, just ignore what he says and everything will be all right. He's a crazy thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up.
Bueno, thank you. And
that is great. I love your stories. I love them. I can sit here all afternoon and listen to your stories.
When I was with construction, they'd ask me what nationality I was.
When you were where?
With construction, I'd tell them I was half wetback and half pilgrim. They said, we've never heard of that combination. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, on my mother's side, my grandmother came from Mexico. state of Chihuahua. I said, my grandfather came from Homburg, Germany. I said, he was, so that's why I'm half wetback and half pilgrim. I said that.
Okay.
Bueno, thanks a million.
Oh, thank you.
Whoop.
Here, I'll get that off. Thank you. Okay, sir, yeah, I'll be seeing